Nancy Wyman, State Democratic Chairwoman.
Nancy, thanks so much for being here.
And with us today is Nancy Wyman.
This is the Donkey Talk Podcast with your host, Connecticut Democratic Party Chairwoman Nancy Wyman.
Hi, I'm Nancy Wyman, and we're doing this for the very first time. And we're really kind of excited. As the new Democratic Chairman of the state party, myself and the new Vice Chairman, Erick Russell, are going to do our first podcast. So many of you know that I've been in politics for a pretty long time, and from moving on from Board of Ed to state representative to state controller, and then lieutenant governor, and now as party chair. And I'm just so glad to be able to work with somebody that's very young and very accomplished from Pullman and Conley. And I'm going to introduce our vice chairman and my partner in this, Erick Russell.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erick Russell. As Nancy mentioned, I'm an attorney here in Connecticut, practicing in government finance area. And I'm really excited to be taking on this new role as vice chair and to be working with Nancy. The party has done a lot of great work in this state, and it has really done work that's benefited a lot of people on the ground level. And that's really why I've been so interested to get involved and to share in this opportunity with Nancy. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's kind of interesting. So I do want you to know that I met Erick's husband before I met Erick, and Erick's husband was a state representative and from the Newtown area, and was a fantastic state rep, and his name is Chris Liddy. But so I've gotten to know them, and I've gotten to know some of the great things that they both have given back to the state. I look at the positions now and I look at people like Erick, and I'm saying, this is what the future's about. This is a person that I would think should be a leader. And I'm not going to embarrass him to say which office you're going to run for, because I won't do that. But I will say that I really do think that Erick and I have some of the same thoughts about what we want to see for this party. We need to see more young people getting involved to take over for those of us that are older, but also people that have new energy and new ideas on doing things. Erick has that. We want to bring in diversity into our party at leadership levels, and that's very important to us because that's what Connecticut's about, and that's what the United States of America was built on. And so when Erick and I started to work together, we know that what we want to do, we want to reach out to the municipalities and help them elect people that care about the municipality itself, but also want to move up and take care about the state or the federal level. Erick lives in a big city in New Haven, and I live in Tolland, and so there's opposite views there, and different views, not opposite, but different views about how we can do things. And so Erick, what are the things you think are missing in the big cities and us getting people out to vote?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, I think the cities have done very well in terms of turnout and really activating the base of voters there. I think in terms of pulling more people into the party, and we discussed this obviously from our initial conversations about what we wanted to see, what was really just making the party more accessible and really tapping into people and communities and really letting them know that the party's there for them and that there are opportunities for them to get involved. And, I think that's really important. I was not involved in politics when I was younger. I did not have family members that were involved. And I was really fortunate that when I was in college, one of my professors, Mike Lawler, who was a state representative from East Haven at the time,
and a good friend of mine,
was the co-chair of judiciary, and there was a hearing on the death penalty legislation being repealed, or legislation repealing the death penalty. And that was my first introduction to state politics. I knew nothing about it. I knew I wanted to, growing up in inner city New Haven and in West Haven, I knew I wanted to do something after going to college that was going to benefit my community, but I didn't really know how to do that. And I knew I wanted to go to law school for that reason. And, having that one experience at the Capitol is what kind of changed my outlook on ways that I could get involved and how I could do things to benefit my community. So I think those, from there, my interest grew, and I was fortunate enough to make some great relationships. But it was that initial access to the party and to the process that I think is really important to pulling people in.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting because Eric and I kind of had the same kind of experiences. In my household when I was growing up, nobody talked about politics. I didn't know anything about politics, and I really came to Connecticut, and I had my children, and I wanted to impeach the Board of Education. I knew nothing about anything else, but it was all about my children's education. And so everybody listening, if anybody is, just know that you can't impeach a Board of Education. You can impeach the president. We're not talking about that today, though. But it is an interesting thing of how you start to get involved and how the road and getting the word out to our kids and our young people that education is so important, because you don't always get to really plan your life out. All of a sudden, there's a road in front of you and you follow it, and you can become anything you want. So as for me, I thought being an X-ray technician was what I wanted to be my whole life. Sometimes I think I should stay there, but no, but I have had the experience that nobody would have assumed I'd ever have in my life. And I think that's what the whole idea is, getting out to the kids, our young people, and saying, hey, listen, just as long as you have an education, that you can and you will be part of anything. But for us, right now, we need your voices to be heard. Speaking out. Don't wait for an election to speak out to your elected officials. If you see something that's going on, pick up the phone and call them. If you want to get involved in the Democratic State Party, call us. We'd love to have you involved. If you want to volunteer, we'd love to have you there, especially young people. We're going to have a lot of young volunteers this summer going around, learning the process, learning about politics. And that's what Eric and I want to do, is to bring those people in so they can go back and teach their other students with them. But I think that there's there's ideas out there that we haven't heard. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to do, is hear those ideas. And I listen to Eric and I'm going, wow, how can he do all this stuff? Being a lawyer and, doing everything he's doing and still volunteering here at the party, and but having new ideas. And somebody like myself, you've got to know that this podcast is a new word for me. But I can ask Eric or people from the party about the new things that are going on. What is social media about? How do we get in touch with people? What's the best way of getting things done? And Eric, of course, can do that, and I just have to keep asking people how to explain it. So, good.
But no, I think that's exactly it. I think as things are starting to change, our base of voters and across the state are looking for new ways to actually engage, and there's new and interesting ways for us to actually contact people and to reach out and to hear back from people about what's really important to them. And I think underlying all this work, we talk about this all the time. You don't put as much time and energy into this work if you don't believe in what this is ultimately about. And that's what drives me, and I know drives you and so many others to do the work for the party and to move us forward.
And it's also for the state. So people understand we're using the Democratic Party to get the word out for protecting the state. I have grandchildren, as a lot of you know, and to me, the young leaders coming up have got to be the leaders so that my grandchildren can look at them and they can move forward. And it's not a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. It's what you feel like you need to get accomplished to make this a better place. both at the local level, the state level, or the federal level. But you need to get out, and we say it again, we need to hear your voices. And we, of course, would love to have you join the Democratic Party, so I will put that plug in. And I do ask you to please take your time, think about the issues, and really come out and contact us about and share your stories about what you think we should be doing as a party, as leaders in our state. And don't forget, you also have to call your elected officials. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. Somebody put them in office, and they have to listen also. So I think that's part of what we're trying to get out right now. There's a lot of issues that you'll see in the press or on emails and what else? What is it called? I don't know, chat boxes or whatever. I don't know. But we need to get everybody out there to try to look at the issues that are out there. Try to understand them. Don't just judge by a line that you hear. Do some research or call us, and we'd love to answer the questions for you.
And I think as we're talking about that, you mentioned issues, and I think one of the as challenging as their times are right now on the national level politically, there's really so much excitement and so much engagement from so many different communities, and I think specifically a lot of action groups who are really focused on specific issues. And I think that's been one of the great things and exciting things that we've been doing as a party is really partnering with those groups to focus on specific issues that are important to them and to help move those causes forward. So, as you mentioned, I mean, there's obviously we are here as a Democratic Party, and that's who we're providing support for. But I think there are ways for a lot of people to get involved and to collaborate with the party, even if it's not, on a specific party line issue.
And anybody that's listening, you don't even have to contact us. You can contact your locals. If you want to get involved, the municipal elections, of course, are coming up in November. You'll probably have some primaries in some of your towns. But getting out there and working at the local level, figuring out what you would like to do. I also want to put a plug in for some of our seniors. Contact the parties, contact the towns, get involved. If you're if you're retired and you want to do something, come involved. We're not just talking about the young. We're talking about anybody that wants to get involved. If you want to get involved because your grandchildren live in your town like I do, get involved. We need people out. The people that come out are the ones that are the most educated ones when they go into that polling booth. They'll understand the issues that are going on and what people really need to know. So, we're just going to be out here a lot talking to different people about what we're doing. But at the same time, we will be trying to bring you up to date on what's going on in both at the Capitol right now. Hopefully, we'll have a podcast with the governor and some other, I think, intelligent people like the person that's sitting across from me, Erick Russell. But we'll have other people come out just to talk about issues that might be affecting you. And try to give you some backgrounds and trying to talk to you about how to get involved, but more so to making sure that you understand what's going on, who are your elected officials, where do they stand, and what would you want to tell them. You can always try to contact us and let us know that too. But meanwhile, Erick, I have a question to ask you. Sure. Law school,
Yes.
Is it hard?
It was tough. It was challenging.
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoyed it. I found the entire experience to be really interesting. And I think one of the biggest things that you don't hear about, you hear about kind of the curriculum and the late nights in the library, and there were plenty of those. But I developed friendships with some of my closest friends in law school. And, what's one of the great things about practicing in Connecticut is it is a fairly small legal market. So
Yeah.
you see a lot of your friends from law school on a regular basis in a lot of different capacities, and I definitely enjoy that part of the experience.
And what kind of law do you practice?
So I practice in our government finance group, and so the majority of my work is representing cities, towns, the state of Connecticut, state agencies in issuing bonds for public use projects. So helping municipalities build out schools and general capital improvements.
Well, I'm going to need your help in Tallinn because we have a crumbling foundation in our schools that we're rebuilding our school on that. So we got to talk later
Okay, all right.
about that
We
because
can
that's
do that.
really important to me at least. And you did work in the former governor's office
I
for a
did.
little
That
while as an
was so I
internship.
started my legal career. So while I was at UConn for law school, I had the pleasure of interning under general counsel at the time for Daniel Malloy. It was Andrew McDonald, now Justice McDonald.
Wonderful man.
A great and
Good
had a
friend.
great experience there, and it was really it was a way. It opened my eyes to how the process works. I was able to build a lot of really good relationships there, kind of further my interest in politics, and really learned how to get more involved.
Isn't it
on
funny?
the state
I
level.
started out as assistant clerk many years ago in environment and then education, and before I ever ran for state rep. And but the place does pull you in, and I think having you there when Andrew McDonald was there was a great asset to the state. And we'll see where you're going to go on
Thank
this.
you.
Now I think it's. I know what my fingers crossed for you doing, but you got to make those decisions yourself, right? I can't push that, right?
That's true.
But
That's true.
I'll keep trying.
Okay.
But so people out there just understand that there's so many of us that are different, but are here for the same reasons. We all come from different backgrounds, but we're here for the same reasons. We want to do what's right for the people of the state. At this time, I'm gonna say thank you, Eric, for coming, and thank you to everybody that's setting this up, and thank you for anybody that's listening. But we want to have real conversations. We need to have real conversations, and you can help us out. So we're going to say goodbye.
Yeah.
We're going to say
Sounds good.
bye now.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.